Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to the showgram. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I've adapted to the new way that I collect. As I mentioned before, when I was a child, when I was a kid, and really into my teens, I would build sets. That's how I collected. I didn't collect players. I'll be honest with you. The whole idea of vintage cards, while I knew they were there, I knew they existed. It just wasn't something that I focused on. Not until recently. It was all about collecting the new stuff coming out, opening packs, and those kind of things. And in fact, I remember back in 1985, I went to a gas station and I actually bought a box of 1985 tops. And the lady behind the cash register and the guy standing next to me who's trying to pay for his gas looked at me like I was from outer space. And they had no understanding of why I'd want to buy a box of baseball cards. But anyway, it was because I was building sets. So that's what I did. And when I got back into the hobby a few years ago, I knew I couldn't build sets. I knew that the hobby had changed so much that it was just not feasible to build sets anymore. I wasn't going to spend $4, $5, $6 on a pack of cards. It just wasn't economically feasible, and it's just not something I really wanted to do, despite the fact that that's what I knew. That's how my mind is wired. Is in that fashion. Not necessarily to build sets, but to be a completionist of sorts, right? I can't have just a stack of cards piled over there, regardless of the need that that I have for them, and just randomly sorted out. They have to be a part of some kind of designated group or some kind of designated player run or a set. That's just the way it works. So I had to figure out how to overcome this big hurdle that I had with the general notion of all I had to do was build sets. So it took me a while. It took me a long while really to kind of figure that out. I had to do some trial and error. Does it work if I collect this? Does it work if I collect that? And all of that. And I still kind of feel it out. I think we all probably do to a certain extent. Kind of feel out the best way to collect your cards that makes sense to you, because at the end of the day, that's what it matters to. So anyway, so I don't collect big sets anymore, and I honestly I don't know who does. Nobody on here, that is the people that I listen to talk about building sets, and which is understandable. But I build smaller sets. I build sets that are achievable, easily achievable, and that don't take up a lot of time. They don't take up a lot of effort to go find the cards, and they certainly don't leave me with a lot of extra cards that are never ever gonna be of any value to me. So, and I want to show you one of those sets here. This is a set that I was introduced to through my eBay feed, just scanning cards, looking what's out there, and this card popped up in my feed, and I looked at it. I said, I've never seen that card before. That is a cool looking card, because that's number one, right? It's got to be a cool looking card. It's got to be of interest and eye appeal. I've never seen that before, so I did a little bit of research on it, and I started to put together this set. And most of you are probably aware of this set. I've never seen anybody speak about it, but I'd be surprised that you guys aren't already aware of it. Perhaps you have some of these cards in your own collection, because they're very easily obtainable, and they're readily available, and they're cheap as well. So, but the cards are so cool. They're artist renderings. They're not photographs, and every single card in the set is a Hall of Famer. And the set I'm talking about is the 1961 Golden Press. And if you've never heard of it, the 61 Golden Press set came in a booklet. back in 1961, released by Golden Press to distribute their cards. And it is the same Golden Press that releases the kids' books that we all know from our childhood. And this, if I had a little image, you know, I would stick it up here, but you guys can go look it up. But the book, all the book had was, it had a cover, and it had 3 cards on the front, and the rest of the book was just comprised of these cards. And you punched out the cards; they were perforated, and you punched them out, and you collected them. And that's how you got those cards. The books in their entirety are still available. You could probably buy one for $350, $400 in decent shape if you wanted to do that. Most of the cards in the set are available for about $10 a piece. So again, relatively cheap, except for the bigger stars, and I'll show you those here in a minute as well. But it's got 33 cards in the set. And in 1961, if you thought about the top 33 cards, 33 players that are in the Hall of Fame as of 1961, you probably figure out who's in this set. And I won't read you the whole checklist, but I will show you a handful of cards. So this is the card that popped up on my feed, and it's the Bill Dickey card. And when that thing rolled up there, I was like, God, it's a cool looking card. It's just a different view, a different camera perspective, and of course you can see that it's a drawing, it's an artist rendering, but it's so cool, so very well done. I was like, I got to get some of these cards. So I saw that, and this is the back. So it's got a little story about the player, lifetime stats at the bottom, and his nickname up there in quotes. This not a special nickname for Bill. It's Bill. And a little bit about where he played. So, and remarkably, these cards, for being distributed how they were, and the fact that they had to be punched out, and they're pretty thin cardstock. It's not like the baseball card. It's pretty thin cardstock. You can find these in remarkably good condition. So, so the Bill Dickey card is one. The biggest names in the set, as you can imagine, are Yankees and Ty Cobb. So you've got the Babe Ruth. Oops. Let me see if I can get this glare off there. Sorry about that. You have the Babe Ruth. This, of course, is the most expensive card in the set. And again, it tells you a little bit about George Herman, the Babe, the Sultan of SWAT. Joe DiMaggio. And just the way that the images are produced on these cards is just too cool. Same thing. All right, Yankee Clipper, Joltin' Joe, tells you a little bit about him. Lou Gehrig. And then, you know, back on there. And then Ty Cobb rounds out really the 4 most expensive cards in this set. But even Cobb, and even Cobb is probably a $20 card. Gehrig and DiMaggio, you can probably get it for $20. So again, they're not terrible. Babe Ruth, you know, you're probably looking a little more than $50 a card for him, depending on if you get a really super nicer grades, a little bit higher, obviously. But those are the big names. And then again, everything else is just regular, you know, comic cards. One of the things that I'll get to it in a sec here. One of the things that you do have to pay attention to on these cards is the kind of the yellowing on the back. So, I mean, obviously you want to pay attention to everything else. You always pay attention to, but you know, Rogers Hornsby. But you can see Rogers Hornsby. Let me pull this other one up. This Bill Dickey one up that I showed. See how it's kind of a yellowish, and then you have probably hard to see, really is, guys, but apologize. Just a little yellowing on the Hornsby, but that's about it. And you can still get them in really nice shape. George Sisler, you notice I'm showing Cardinals. Just a cool shot there. I won't show the back too much, and then Dizzy Dean. So anyway, so that's what I do. That's how I get past the challenge, if you will, of not building sets anymore. Is I put together these smaller sets that satisfy that urge for me, because I got to have things in order. It just works. That's the way my mind works. But that's what I got for you today, guys. Is the 1961 Golden Press set, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.